सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रुति स्मृति पुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरम्। पुराण न्याय मीमांसा धर्मशास्त्रांग मिश्रिताः वेदाः स्थानानि विद्यानां धर्मस्य च चतुर्दश। आयुर्वेदो धनुर्वेदो गान्धर्वश्चैव ते त्रयः अर्थशास्त्रं चतुर्थन्तु विद्याः अष्टादशैव ताः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Namaste. I welcome everyone who has joined us today for a symposium on Vedāṅga-s brought to you by the Center for Bhasha Studies and INDICA, or INDICA Bhasha in short. This symposium is the fourth symposium on Vedāṅga-s, fourth in a series that we have organized in the last few months. I would like to begin this symposium by actually crediting or acknowledging this particular book by Sanskrit, titled Sanskrit Vāṅmaya ka Brihad Itihas. I mentioned this particular book because in my little search of books that are focused on Vedāṅga specifically, this happens to be perhaps the largest, most voluminous, and most informative on the different historical aspects of Vedāṅga as a group. Right? Now, just very quickly, this is the index of this particular book. For anybody who would, I'd strongly recommend this if they're looking to dive deep into different aspects of Vedāṅga-s. So this is just the index of the particular book. Now, I'd like to cite from this book on the author's view of what Vedāṅga-s are. The initial simple first paragraph, which I thought was a very handy introduction to the entire category. This happens to be in Hindi. I will proceed to an English version after that. I quote, Anga शब्द का व्युत्पत्ति लभ्य अर्थ है Upakāraka. Angayate ज्ञायन्ते अमीभीरति अंगानि, अर्थात जिनके द्वारा किसी वस्तु के स्वरूप को जानने में सहायता मिलती है उन्हें अंग कहते हैं। भाषा तथा भाव दोनों दृष्टियों से वेद दुर्बोध है। अतः वेद के अर्थ ज्ञान के लिए उसके कर्म कांड के प्रतिपादन में जो उपयोगी शास्त्र हैं उन्हें वेदांग नाम से अभिहित किया जाता है। वेद का यथार्थ ज्ञान के लिए 6 विषयों को जानना परमावश्यक है। वैदिक मंत्रों का ठीक ठीक उच्चारण प्रथम आवश्यक वस्तु है। इस उच्चारण के निमित्त प्रवर्तमान वेदांग शिक्षा कहलाता है। वेद का मुख्य प्रयोजन वैदिक कर्मकांड यज्ञ याग का यथार्थ है। इसके लिए प्रवर्तमान अंग कल्प कहलाता है। कल्प का अर्थ है कल्पयते समर्थयते याग प्रयोगोत्तर, अर्थात यज्ञ के प्रयोगों का समर्थन जिसमें किया जाए वह कल्प है। व्याकरण शास्त्र पदों के प्रकृति प्रत्यय का उपदेश देकर पद के स्वरूप का परिचय तथा उसके अर्थ का भी निश्चय करता है। फलतः पदस्वरूप और पदार्थ निश्चय के निमित्त व्याकरण का उपयोग होने से वह भी वेदांग है। निरुक्त में पदों की निरुक्ति बताई गई है। निरुक्ति की भिन्नता से अर्थ में भिन्नता होती है। इसीलिए वेद के अर्थ निर्णय के लिए निरुक्त भी वेदांग कहा जाता है। वेद छंदोमयी वाणी है। छंदों से परिचित होने पर ही मंत्रों के उच्चारण और पाठ का यथार्थ ज्ञान हो सकता है। इसीलिए छंदों की वेदांगता है। ज्योतिष यज्ञ याग के उचित समय का निर्देश करता है। नक्षत्र तिथि मास तथा संवत्सर का ज्ञान वैदिक कर्मकांड के लिए आवश्यक है। अनकोट। The Pradhana Sampadak of this entire series of books that you can see behind me is Padma Bhushan recipient Acharya Baladev Upadhyaya ji, and the Sampadaka of this particular volume is Om Prakash Pandey ji. Now, in a more recent book called The Introduction to Indian Knowledge System, Concepts and Applications, I came across this line, which I've highlighted right at the top, which I thought was a pretty simple, lucid sort of description of Vedangas in English as a specific body of knowledge, practices, and tools and techniques that were created to preserve the Vedas and appropriately use them. Now, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, they have given sort of a very short descriptive view on what they think the use of and the role of the 6 Vedangas are. The 6 Vedangas being Śikṣā, Vyākaraṇa, Nirukta, Chandas, Kalpa, and Jyotiṣa. They have mentioned oral preservation, phonetics preservation, etc. for Śikṣā, presenting knowledge properly and grammar for Vyākaraṇa, preventing corruption, rules for presenting knowledge for Chandas, ensuring correct meaning, book of synonyms and etymology for Nirukta, establishing norms, rules, practices, manual for Kalpa, and when to do methodology for timing events, Jyotiṣa. Now, for those who are wondering about which was perhaps the earliest, or at least amongst the earliest attestations of the 6 Vedangas, Śikṣā, Kalpa, Vyākaraṇa. Amongst the earliest, if not the earliest attestation is found in the Mundakopanishad, Prathamo Mundakaha, Prathama Khandaha, in verse 5, which is in the bottom half, and I've highlighted it over here. Now, this follows the verse 4, which actually talks about Para and Apara Vidya. So, for those who are looking to conceptually place Vedangas, this particular flowchart was quite helpful for me. It is from Dharma Wiki, and it helps situate the topic of our symposium today, Vedāṅga-s, in Smriti as part of Vedika Sahitya, which again, along with Laukika Sahitya, is part of Apara Vidya, which is one part of what Bharatiya Samskrita Parampara is, the other part being Paravidya, that has to do with Brahma Vidya and Moksha. Now, with a very brief introduction to the roles and to the different Vedangas itself, another way to frame them or to think them as part of a framework is to think of the knowledge systems framework, systems of knowledge that are attested in Bharatiya literature. There are many systems of knowledge attested in Bharatiya literature in different languages. In Sanskritam, 2 of the systems of knowledge are Chaturdasha Vidya and Ashtadasha Vidya. Purana Nyaya Mimamsa Dharma Shastranga Mishrutaha Veda-s Sthanani Vidyanam Dharmasya Cha Chaturdasha, which is attested in the Yajnavalkya Smriti 1.3, and Ayurvedo Dhanurvedo Gandharvaschaiva Tetvaya Arthashastram Chaturthattu Vidyaha Ashtadashaivataha, which is attested in the Vishnu Purana. Vedangas are clearly part of both these systems of knowledge, as you can see. The purple line covers Veda, Vedāṅga, Upanga 14, and the golden line covers Veda, Vedāṅga, Upanga, Upaveda, which is 18. Now, with that as background, this is the schedule that we have for today, for today's symposium. We will start with Arvind Iyer, who will summarize our previous 3 symposiums on Vyākaraṇa, on Vedangas, Vyākaraṇa, Chandas, and Nirukta. Followed by that, we are privileged to have Mahamahopadhyay, Dr. Korada Subramaniam ji, join us today and present an overview of one of the Vedangas, which is Śikṣā. Thereafter, we will have Vidwan Vishwas Vasuki, who will speak on Kalpa as embodied religion. He will be followed by Dr. Sushri Sasmitapati. She will present an overview of Dharma Sutras. Thereafter, we will have Dr. Aditya Kolachana, who will talk to us about Vedāṅga Jyotiṣa. And finally, we will have an overview of Shulba Sutras by Dr. Vanishri Bhatt. This is the schedule that we have for today. All of the presenters from Kurada Subramaniam ji onwards have 45 minutes to present on the topic. We welcome questions, written questions, which are specific to the presentation in the Q&A and the chat box. And I request speakers to plan their time in such a way that they have 5 minutes perhaps at least to look at the questions, if any, in the chat box and choose to answer whichever question they would like to address, which they find relevant to that presentation.